Welcome to Truck Your Podcast. My name is Sebastian.
My name's Jose, guys.
You doing okay?
Yeah.
Good. I'm doing pretty good. Excited. Let's talk about rates and when are we going to get out of this mess? What do you think?
I would say midsummer.
Summer.
Like I would say July, roughly,
Okay.
hopefully.
Update. Shop update. Anything else that came up that we want to mention?
We had a trans issue, remember? It was a bad ground on
Mhm.
ECM trans ECU harness.
Yes. And then we're done with the
The ISX. Yeah.
overhaul, which video should be already up. I'm not sure how I'm gonna plan because I have a lot of footage from that, so I have to edit it and post it. But that's done, and then we have a couple other projects. But international is gonna get some.
Yeah,
love
we gotta
this
start working
week.
on that.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna look into this Friday. Trucking update, I would say a lot. There's still some opportunities in OTR. We've been doing a lot more. A lot of my guys, I shouldn't say a lot, but significant number are like, just throw me anything, I'll do anything.
They'll do it, yeah.
Yeah, and we've been fortunate that a lot of my team they're very committed, and we've been so far so good. But the market's still down. We're April 15th was the bottom. What it looks like, April
Okay.
15, 16, according to Freight Waves. I looked at the market and we're going up. We're still 10% lower year over year, so it's still bad, but it looks like it's going back up. And now the question is when. So,
But okay, you said April 15th, but when did they start handing out those checks? You think it went up because of people received those checks and started spending?
it could
could be.
trigger that. I mean, definitely Amazon and e-commerce. I said Amazon. I said I should say e-commerce in general, because I know the uptick. What we've seen around April 15th, 16th, when the checks hit, an uptick in e-commerce about 15 to 20%, which is
Okay.
very significant.
Yeah.
So people staying at home, buying more stuff, got
Online shopping, yeah.
bought the new TV or the new, I don't know, what do you think they're buying?
PS5 that came out already?
Yeah, it did.
No.
Yeah, TVs and maybe games and things like that. But
Yeah, for sure.
definitely uptick there was on that part. But yes, it probably triggered it. But we bottomed because the Easter season,
True.
Easter
Yeah.
holiday. So then now hopefully we're going back up, and there's been an uptick, but it's still below year over year volumes. So we'll see. I think we're talking about two things here. When are rates coming back? What's going to potentially happen with rates? And it's, again, our opinion, especially from what I understand in trucking and what I've observed for the last 10 years. But I say it's just our personal opinion. So definitely take it with a grain of salt. And it's more for entertainment than educational aspect. But I would say quarter 3 and 4 will be a lot more positive. I think Q4 is going to be intense. And what I mean by that, I think by then we'll not only have a lot better knowledge about states reopening, because since I think right now it's 22 that are thinking about reopening early May, which is when this podcast is coming out.
Yeah.
But it's still up in the air what other states are going to do, because some could have been open a long time ago, and that's going to drive the volumes. And that'll be very interesting to see, because we've never seen anything like that.
Like this, yeah.
Where you have different states opening at different times. Some of them are not.
So it's definitely going to affect the rates. I mean, it's going to take, I would say if everybody opened up at once, it'd be, boom, everything's just going to go up really quick? Or
Yeah, I think.
I mean, I may be wrong, but
No. Of course, we it's like I said, it's our opinion, our kind of what we know about the industry, what I know, but what I can tell you is in 2019, around 800 trucking companies went out of business, and that's a significant number,
yeah.
because we were coming down from that 2018 peak, and around 800 trucking companies went out of business. It put a lot of drivers out of work. They either bought their trucks or transitioned into different industries. But what's happening is that capacity kind of disappeared from the market.
Okay.
And it's only continuing in 2020. There's still companies going out of business. Now we don't even know how many trucking companies will come back.
Yeah.
I looked at two companies that filed Chapter 7, which is a liquidation under Chapter 11, just going bankrupt pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's not a significant number, but for a state, if you remove 60 drivers for a region, that adds up,
Yeah,
right?
a lot.
So nobody really knows what the capacity is going to be when the rates are coming back. So like when the rates are coming back, and what would have to happen is states would have to get comfortable with reopening, and it would have to be done safely, obviously, so people don't get reinfected, or we have a significant progress in medicine and treatment,
yeah.
because vaccines not going to happen for some time, but medicine, but treatment, right? So at Remdesivir is that it's an Ebola treatment that they've been testing, and they just came out with it saying they've seen a significant improvement. So they're probably gonna use that. That gives you a little bit more confidence with what's you can treat it, because the study and probably it's widely available to read online. But what mainly happened was they ran a study, and the patients recovered 30% faster than the placebo patients, and so that cut it from 15 days recovery on placebo versus 11 on the treatment.
Okay.
So that's significant. It's nothing crazy, but it's still a decent number, right? And so there's hope, obviously, and there's a lot of things happening with now having so much capacity at hospitals. Like it's crazy, like how the peak was expected to come and it never came. And there's just so many now hospitals are in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody else is coming in with anything else. So
yeah,
with that said,
a lot of surgeries got postponed, right?
Mm-hmm. Surgeries and even some of the essential ones that needed to happen, people were like, well, I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to do it right now.
Yeah.
Take it down. So what that's going to create is the same thing with, reopening the states and how everything is going to come back online. Nobody really knows what the capacity is going to do and how quickly not only the states will reopen, but which states will reopen and how that freight's going to come back into market.
Right.
And we're going to have to start to move it, because a lot of guys now we have the strike, we have companies folding, and we have drivers giving up or staying at home. So that capacity is very hard to kind of estimate. So it'll be very interesting to see what's going to happen. I believe we're going to see August, September, and we're ahead of produce season still. So I'm thinking when we look at produce, reefer's going to be doing good, and then
back to school supplies,
which I told you about the study. I think it's a good
that's a good one
segue.
Too.
Australia and Sweden obviously didn't have a lockdown like everybody else in Europe had. What they did, are you familiar with that? What they did?
You mentioned
Sweden
the They did a test with 18 students, I believe.
That was Australia. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did a test with 18 students and they traced it. They looked at how it was below. I think it was below 16 years old. That they were not transferring the virus to other people. They send them back. That's why Australia's schools are open. And Sweden did the same thing. And they didn't do a lot. They have a distancing and they didn't shut down schools, and they're doing as good as everybody else. So now with the study that came from Australia, having the kids not transmit it and not often get it, because a lot of I'm not that they're not getting it, they're getting it, but they have no symptoms.
Okay.
But they're also not spreading it. So that's good news.
So they can have it, but they won't spread it.
Yeah. And some states are reopening. They're trying to. Some states I've heard even wanna. They're not gonna open for this school year, but they're gonna actually start the next one earlier to make up for the lost time.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Which is very interesting approach. I don't know.
So there goes summer for the kids.
Yeah.
Basically.
Shorter summer, but at the same time, I mean, the kids have been. My kids want to go back to school, but. What's the other interesting two aspects that will contribute to the rates and how strongly the market bounces back, and the demand for truckers come back is the trucking schools are not putting in new drivers in the system. So that's stopping the new driver entering the trucking industry, and that's gonna create a decent amount of tight environment for capacity as far as capacity goes. So that's one thing. And second, what I'm also thinking is truck manufacturers are not producing trucks, right? We're everything shut down. So what might happen is used trucks might go up in price, which they will, because now obviously you see very low truck prices, but timing that the buying of the truck, if you're planning to go in, it's going to be
buy now before
if you can. But the number one thing is September peak season. Is that going to still exist? I don't know. If we go back to normal and the holiday season comes in, then we'll see what's that going to happen with how we're running and the rates. I feel like there's going to be definitely
some type of
very tight. There's going to be a pickup. It's just when the surge is going to come is the question, because you're going to see rates very high with there's shortage of capacity, and we've seen that building up for a long time now. So depends on how strongly we come back, but year over year we're 11%, in general, which is bad. So we have a long way to go. But Q1 GDP minus 4.8%, which that's the Great Recession was 3.9.
3.9.
Yeah. So now we're at minus 4.8. Crazy, but again, the economy stopped.
Yeah.
So the rebuilding process is going to be very interesting. What do you have in your notes?
Well, like you did mention, we were talking about 08, 09.
Mm-hmm.
That was an economic shutdown, and this is like due to a pandemic. So the recovery should be hopefully a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then now the number one thing is consumer confidence, and if people are not going to buy, right now everything that's moving is perishable goods, right? Everything that you can eat or has a
expiration date on
it. With the hard goods, it's going to be a little different, because that might get a delay for this year. And since I was going to transition to intermodal, and how what the ocean liners are doing is they're actually parking some of their ships, and what happens with that is since they're not sailing as much, and that there's a very limited amount of import export going on right now, that's going to create a lot of I should say scenarios where how do we now tackle the lack of imports if there are ships parked. Then it takes a really it's a complicated step to take a ship off the line, right? You have crews. It's a process. You can't like do it like you can hop in a truck or
shut it down and that's
more
it.
Complicated, no. Yeah. So what's gonna happen is, how do we now start buying, and what's gonna happen with the clothes, with TVs, things that
once people get out of their comfort zone, and once the states reopen, they get out of their comfort zone. It's gonna take a while, obviously. I would say after they reopen, it's gonna take at least another month. I mean, I know the state might reopen.
I would say more.
More?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to end up being around September. Where we see, and I would like to be wrong. I would like it to be earlier.
Yeah, earlier.
I think September is when we're going to see scrambling for trucking companies in capacity to kind of meet the demand.
Yeah.
Because we've been talking about how this never happened before. Well, we never had a recovery like this happen also before.
Yeah,
right?
True.
So we really don't know what to expect. And the number one thing is trucking companies going out of business, and how many of those how many owner operators and capacity is leaving the market without media noticing it.
Yeah.
So, but the big guys are definitely gonna take advantage of that, and it will get only bigger. The small guys will get hurt. That's why having all the ducks in a row is important. But there's a lot that I feel like end of this year with re-election coming, with that's also going to be very interesting.
So 2021, you expect it to be a good year?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So Q2 2021 is going to be great. Well, if let's say, I know there's talks about the infrastructure bill to be passed.
Okay.
Since money's cheap right now, there's a lot of it. That will stimulate a lot of jobs. It's just gonna, because you have to rebuild a lot of bridges and roads, and airports are just crap. And yes, now is the time, but is that gonna pass? Who knows? But that's gonna definitely create a lot of opportunities. And if that goes, let's say this year something happens with that, then 2021 is going to be crazy.
It's going to be a good year.
Yeah. But when you're looking back at 2008, 2009, that recovery was also, it was spotty. It was very flat. It wasn't really
It didn't pick up quick, no.
Up until 2013, I think we were I would say, well, I started my company I started running 2015. And I would say the prior 2 years, I've been seeing a lot of opportunities, and the market did okay since then. Obviously, 18 was the best, but who knows? Since there is a lot of capital and people have money, if they start buying, and the companies will keep the people on payroll and get them back to work, and what the actual unemployment is going to be, because not right now it's crazy.
It's crazy. What, 30?
Yeah, but it's not at the 30% unemployment. It's because the country stopped.
Yeah,
but who knows? I think there's the best thing to do right now is to lay low if you can, and kind of wait for the rates to come back. And if you can negotiate. Let's say you have a note on your truck, or if you don't, but if you do, banks are very flexible right now.
Yeah, I heard that they're flexible, right?
Yeah,
like 3 months or so.
Yeah, they give you they do deferrals, but if you don't have a note, you're in a good situation, and you can just park the truck, maybe find modes that flatbed's going to pick up if we pass the bill, and that will be something that you're going to see pick up when construction is going to go back online. Right? People start rebuilding and building housing. That's going to pick up. So I'm very optimistic. Usually I'm always optimistic, but I'm optimistic of the Q4, and that's what I'm shooting for, and kind of prepping as much as I can and educating myself on how I want to position. Ahead, I want to position the companies. Yeah. So, anything else you got?
How about that interview they had Monday?
Oh, you want to mention that for But you know what? Look, I had a guy come in for an interview. We talk about the mechanic?
Yeah.
And I have to give him I'm going to cut him some slack, because people are in desperate times right now, and he's looking for work, and I told him this is not what I'm looking for, and I've asked him a couple of questions he didn't know the answer to, and he got mad and started being very aggressive, and I asked him to leave because, who knows what he's going? He's probably going through some crazy time in his,
True.
And that's what I will always. I'll always look at that. It's just, he was an asshole, but I think I will look at it as, wow, there's a lot of people like that right now struggling, and that's how I've that's what I'm compassionate about is how do you what do you do about that? I probably should have reacted a little better than I did, but I don't like if somebody's yelling at me in my own shop.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna let that happen. But the thing is, it's the guy was probably going through a difficult time, and what I can feel sorry, and it's sad. There's a lot of people in situations like that. You have to think about it. Then hopefully that'll get it'll get better soon, and we reopen. But that's interesting you brought it up, because that's telling me, because that's not only he was a mechanic. I have drivers doing the same. Not losing their temper, but with desperate calls, with people find my number somehow. I have no idea how. People that I've talked to or had relationships with a long time ago now all of a sudden have my cell phone number and beg me to come back.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying, because if you're out of work, you're out of work. We're lucky to somewhat operate, but there's definitely people struggling, and that's the difficult part about all this. Any recession's gonna create something like that, and all you can do is just feel sorry, and it's try to survive it another day.
Yeah. Right? Try to make the best out of it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for watching, for listening. Subscribe if you haven't, share, comment, and we'll talk to you soon.